So what's up, everybody? This is your boy Jonathan back at it again, and I wanted to make videos, try to be consistent making videos. Um, I try to give guidance because when I was younger, I didn't really have guidance, and I made a lot of mistakes, and I've paid for it, and I don't really want to see other people make the same mistakes, so I try to give guidance. So one thing I wanted to talk about today is how a lot of times when you come across problems in life, it's a lot more complicated, and a lot of people will only look at it one side, and sometimes you'll even get blamed for everything, but problems are a little more complicated, and there's two sides to it. So, like for an example, I during COVID, I got sent to this group home to work. And I had so much issues and so much problems fitting in and so much problems dealing with people in there. And a lot of people were like, it's your fault because you're acting like this or you're doing this or you're doing that. It's your fault, it's your fault, it's your fault. And the situation never changed. And the reason is because not everything was my fault. And as much as I tried to change, that didn't necessarily help all the way because it was more moving parts to that. It wasn't just that. So the full story was like this. They lost a lot of staff members over COVID because some people were sick at that group home. They need people to cover. So they sent me. And the administration office, the managers who sent me, didn't train me. It was COVID. They were always sick and they had problems with their families and doing things because of COVID restrictions. So they just threw me in there with no training. Now, the other thing was I was only there on Sundays. So the manager was never there on Sundays. You could call them, but they were busy because on Sundays they do like a couple of group homes and they're not really around. They never come to the office on Sundays. So you're stuck with the staff in the house. Not just that, but I know like I was coming from the part of the company that deals with families. And when you deal with families, you're basically a teacher. When you're in the group home, you're like a glorified babysitter. And so, and so I still thought I was teaching. And a lot of people didn't like that because I would come and try to teach and try to make a difference in those guys' lives. And this wasn't what the job was about. And on top of that, a lot of people in that house had cabin fever because of they've been working in that house for years and don't have another job and be doing like 12-hour shifts, sometimes double shifts, 7 days a week. And so they have cabin fever because they don't do anything else. And it's kind of sad. And, when you do all that, your mind kind of gets crazy and you just go stir crazy and, you don't have patience for other people and you don't want to teach nobody, and it becomes ridiculous. So they took me out of that group home. So I'm in another place that's a lot better, but it's kind of like, that whole situation was not fully my fault. And, you got to recognize that. And I'll give you another example. Like at the school district, one day I was sitting around, like when I first started at the school I'm at, I had a lot of teacher friends and I got to talk to a lot of teachers and be a little, a lot more social. Now I look around and I don't really talk to as many teachers. Nobody talks to me. Nobody really engages me. And so I was thinking to myself, am I the problem? Am I the drama? What am I doing? Well, then I realized it's a lot more to it than that. Like for one, I don't like security because they've done a lot of rude things that I didn't like. Like they wouldn't let me use the bathroom when I really had to go, or like I had something that I was kind of emotional about, and this lady thought I had COVID because my face was red because I was really emotional about something, or, things like that. Or I went pushing something through the wrong door, and the security guard got angry because she said I was making too much noise pushing something through the door. So I really don't like security. So that's that. The other thing is my school is full of a lot of people who have a certain political view that I don't really believe in. So a lot of the new teachers, I don't engage them because they walk and talk and act in a manner that shows that they have this certain political view that I don't believe in. And some of the people that have been there for a long time, who actually know me and actually have conversations with me, like, know that I have conversations that they're not really into because of my background and my culture and where I come from, and I don't really like their political views, so they generally don't talk to me. And then there's one lady, she felt like she doesn't like engaging me because I come to her very slowly, and the other guy runs really fast when she asks him for something. I mean, really petty things like that. Another guy, one of the administration staff doesn't really care for me because my uniform is covered in water because I do the dishes all day. And then when I go up to clock in and out, he looks at that, and he just doesn't like the fact that my uniform is always covered in water and wet. It just rubs him the wrong way, and because he thinks everybody should have a neat and clean uniform, but it's like, but you're not down here doing dishes. You know what I'm saying? And then also just because people have an issue if because of COVID, if you cough. And he said when I was around him, I was sick too many times or coughed too many times. He didn't like that. So those people kind of just don't engage me. And then on top of that, it'd just be like I work in a kitchen. I used to leave my kitchen and be able to do things outside of the kitchen, but now I don't really do things outside of the kitchen. I don't really I stay in the kitchen most of the day because I have a lot of work to get done. So if I'm staying in the kitchen all day, I'm not going to be interacting with anybody outside of the kitchen. So how if I don't interact with anybody outside of the kitchen, how am I going to meet people and make friends, And so it's a lot of that. And so it's not necessarily my behavior that's making me not really have a social life at that school. It's just, it is what it is. It's a natural thing that just stuff happens, and it's not my fault. And so you can look at other situations in your life where people always want to pin you with the blame for everything, but not everything is fully your fault. So just remember that, because the main thing is when you believe that everything's your fault, you go into this whole thing where I gotta change, and I gotta work on this, and I gotta work on that, and then you spend time running around trying to constantly change yourself and work on issues that don't really exist because people lie to you and say it's your fault. And I've gotten in trouble with friends where I try to hang out with them, but they get angry and upset with me because it's like I'm always thinking about drama at work or trying to fix something that doesn't need to be fixed because not everything is my fault. So just remember that. Just always remember you have to analyze and you have to really think about it, and you have to really take the time and say, is this really my fault or is this not my fault? You know what I'm saying? Because stuff is a little bit complicated. So that's it for tonight. This is your boy Jonathan. I'm out, y'all. Peace.